Dom from BlackToad Studios, and today we are playing Necrons vs Deathguard on this battlefield here. We are using the Blitz mission from the rulebook. Necrons are going to be defending, Deathguard are going to be attacking. So Necrons will be deployed over here in this defensed area, and Deathguard will be marching slowly across the battlefield, hacking down defenders as they go. Right, so as we've got some time restrictions today, we're actually going to be missing out on the sustained assault special rule, but down to both of us to decide that. And so that will not be in effect in this game, but we will definitely take it into account at the end of the game and kind of work out if it's a very close draw. We will kind of go into Deathguard's favour. If it's a bit more of a gap, we'll have a discussion and think about it. But yeah, unfortunately, due to time restraints, we will not be taking the sustained assault special rule in this mission. Now let's have a look at the armies and deployment. And here we are with my 2,500 points of Necrons. So we've gone with the Mefrit dynasty, and we've got a battalion here. So let's start over on the right hand side here. So over on the right we've got a massive blob of 40 immortals, all of which are armed with Tesla rather than Gauss. Behind there we have got two Doom Scythes there. Moving across we have got 3 Annihilation Barges with the Tesla weapons underslung there. Up here we've got 2 Canoptic Tomb Sentinels there. They should be quite tasty. At the front here we have got 6 Wraiths. Completely bare bones here, no upgrade, just taken straight out of the Codex. And over here we have got 2 Overlords. So the one on the left here is the Warlord. Both are armed exactly the same, both with War Scythes and Resurrection Orbs. And the Warlord here, as his artifacts of the Aeons, he has got the weave on him, and so it's a +1 toughness and wound. And for his Warlord trait, we are going with Enduring Will. So that basically reduces any damage that's inflicted by 1 to a minimum of 1. So there we are, that is my 2,500 points of Necrons. Looking forward to bringing this today. And let's see what Daryl is bringing with his Deathguard. Right, so here we are with Daryl's Nurgle force. That's a Deathguard patrol with a battalion for Chaos Demons here. A brutal looking force. So as a troop choice here, we've got 2 massive squads of Plague Bearers. I think it's 20 in each squad.
A little bit more. We've got 25 in total with the champion in each.
Okay, 25 in total. These are horrors. I've got 50 Plague Bearers to try and get through. Over on the right flank here, we've got 4 bases of Nurglings. We've got a Herald at the front here. Back here, we've got Corvax. We've got a giant spawn of Nurgle. And normally scabby, but in this case it's going to be a great unclean one there. Horrible force, lots and lots of nasty bits there. Over on the left here we've got the patrol for the Chaos Deathguard. So we've got 2 squads of Plague Marines back there, both with plasma guns and power swords on the champions. We have got a Lord of Contagion here. We've got the Bell Guy. Back here we have got the apothecary guy, I can't think what he's called.
Surgeon.
Plague Surgeon, that's the one. Back here we have got a Deathguard Land Raider here, lots of Nurglings jumping all over it. Very excited to be part of this battle. Chaos Rhino there. Demon Prince at the front here. And back there we have got a Plague Drone there. So a very nice force. So Daryl has also got 8 command points here. Warlord.
So the Warlord will be the Lord of Contagion at the front.
Lord of Contagion, and have you got Warlord trait for your Lord of Contagion?
Oh, I haven't rolled for one yet.
Okay, so you're going to go random?
Yeah, let's go random.
Exciting times. Right, so let's find out what he's going to roll. Right, so it rolled up, and he's got Rotten Constitution. So very similar to my Warlord trait, where it's reducing the damage by 1 there. Also, just a little heads up here, these are in fact not power swords, but just normal stabby swords. So let's look at deployment and see who's going to be going first. Right, so both forces have now deployed. Necrons are using concealed deployment over here to mask their true agenda here. So along the front here, we've got a big line of Immortals and Overlords here, as Daryl throws dice on the floor. You might notice a few dice on the models already. We've done a preliminary bombardment, and the Necrons have been hit a few times here. So we'll move into that in a moment. But at the back here, we then have Doom Scythe, Wraiths, a couple of Annihilation Barges, another Doom Scythe, and over here we've got the Canoptic Beasts. Across the battlefield though, we'll find a host of Nurgle merging in quite nicely actually with the jungle terrain here. So along here, a line of Pestilence and Pus, and they're all lined up, ready to attack. Of course, Nurgle will be going first as they are the attackers in this mission. So we're just going to roll up to see how much damage is laid out over here. Darren has already used a stratagem to increase the damage on there for 2 command points. One command point there, so they're going to be suffering quite nastily there. Right, so we're going to roll up and come back and see how much damage he was able to inflict. But so far, it's a lot of 6s he's rolled. Suspicious amount, some would say. Let's have a look. Right, so just rolled up for the orbital barrage here, and this Annihilation Barge is only taking 1 wound. So it's been a bit of a hit and miss, really. Pardon the pun. Down here, this Immortal, they lost 5 Immortals straight away to there. 2 wounds were inflicted on the Warlord there. Thanks to his Warlord trait, he was able to shrug a bit of damage off. 2 wounds on this Annihilation Barge here. Not too bad. Over here, though, this guy's been reduced down to 4 wounds here, so not nice at all. You can hear the wildlife in the jungles roaring as the firepower lands upon the planet. So currently the attackers are going first, but of course the Necrons can try and seize with their tactical genius. So let's see if we can do it. We need a 6, people. Oh! Right, turn 1 for Necrons coming right up. Right, turn 1 movement for the Necrons. So, we had a bit of regeneration, of living metal going on here. 1 more of the Immortals returned from the dead. The Annihilation Barge here, regained 1 wound. This one, of course, has gone back to full strength here. The Immortals, some of them have staggered forwards across the line. Down here, everyone's kind of staggering up slightly, not getting too close. The Doom Scythes are both flying across the battlefield, targeting the central Land Raider here. These Lascans are definitely a threat to the Necron armour, so it needs to be dealt with. Across here as well, staggering up, the Annihilation Barge here has moved up, and the Wraiths are taking a central position at the moment, ready to counter any possible attack from the Deathguard. So we have got My Will be done onto this squad here, and down here we are targeting this squad over on this flank here. So let's have a look to see what Necrons can do in their turn 1 shooting. Right, so we're going to start off shooting here with this squad of Mortals firing over into the Plague Drone here. We'd originally targeted the Plague Bearers until Daryl told me I'm getting -1 to hit, so I'm going with this guy instead. We'll wait until we're closer before we target this Plague Bearers. So we've got 20 shots, re-rolling 1s and hitting on 2s because my will be done, and the Tesla going off on 5s. Goodness, let's have a look. Right, okay, so here we are, 20 shots, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. Look at all those lovely dice there. So we've got a couple of 1s there, 5s are Tesla. This is going to be brutal. Let's have a look. Right, so re-rolling these 1s. That's pretty good going. Let's have a look to see how many actual hits with Tesla we get. Right, so 35 hits, leaving 5s to wound, strength 5, toughness 7. No AP at this range. Let's roll some dice. So many dice in one hand, I feel like an orc player. Right, so I'm going to add these up, and it's not great, but a few have got through. Let's have a look to see how many saves we're going to need. Right, okay, so out of all of that, we had 9 wounding hits go through. It's got no AP at this range. So we got 3 plus save and then disgusting resilience. Let's see if we can do anything to it. Right, let's roll up. Right, so we have got 3 fails here by the look of it so far. Do you wish to roll for your disgusting resilience?
I think I will.
Well, that's a good idea, isn't it? So if you roll here again. Nope, so what? 2 have got through. 2 have got through there. Good times. Right, let's move on to the next bit of shooting. All right, so next up here, we have got the Doom Scythe, and it's targeting the Land Raider there. So it's got heavy D3 shots. So 3 shots, that's a good sign so far. Okay, so this thing's hitting on 4s. We use talent for annihilation, so 6s could generate an extra shot, which I have to roll for. So, let's go. That's 1, 2, so that's a 6 here. Thank you, geeks. So I'm going to re-roll this one and see if I can hit with that. So all 3 have hit here. Right, so we are wounding on 3s. Come on. So 1, 2. I'm going to use a re-roll. So 3 wounded. So it's a -4 AP. So Daryl has got 6 up save on this cheeky little Land Raider. So Daryl, you want to roll up? So 3 have gone through, and it's D6 damage each. So that is 9 damage so far on the Land Raider there. So that's pretty nice. Next up, we will be firing the Tesla weapons. Next up, we've got the Tesla Destructor. So that's 8 shots. This is hitting on 3s, and 6s are generating more. So it's not too bad. We've got an extra 2 there. Let's see how many wounds we can cause. Right, so I've rolled up and 2 wounds here. There's a -1 AP because of the Dynasty trait here, so it's a -1. So you've got 2 free-up saves, Mr. Daryl.
Yep.
Both passed. Right, let's move on to the next Doom Scythe. Right, so next up, we got this Doom Scythe here, firing down as well. Just within range of this Land Raider here. So, let's see how many shots this one's got. So that's 2 shots, hitting on 4s. Both missed. Let's move on to the Tesla weapons, see if we've got anything coming out of them. All right, next up, find the Tesla weapon down from on high. Strafing run coming on here. So hitting on 4s, no 3s, sorry. 6s create more shots. So I've got a couple of 6s there, which is quite handy. We're going to be wounding on 5s. Let's see what we can do. All right, so I've got 10 dice here. Wounding on 5s on the Land Raider. Okay, that's not too bad. There's a few there. So that's 5 saves for Daryl and his Deathguard. Let's have a look, see if he's able to do anything. Don't pass, don't pass. All pass there. Typical. There's there's no modifier on this. No, Tesla at long range. Nothing there. So let's have a quick recap on the rest of the shooting. Right, so a quick recap of everything else that fired. So this squad here took fire from the annihilation barges from over here. Killing off 1 base and reducing 1 down to 1 wound here. A lot of firepower went into here, but we did a bit of damage, but not quite enough. And across the field as well, we had the Immortals on this flank firing into the Rhino, causing 5 wounds there. So that's it, a little bit of damage, not enough, but of course with the Mefrit Dynasty, the closer he gets, the more damage is put out. And hopefully that will happen, but we'll find out. So we've got no assault. We're going to move on to turn 1 for Nurgle. Right, turn 1 movement for Nurgle, and as you can see here, everything is pushing up as quickly as it can across the battlefield. So down here, the Giant Spawn didn't gain any more wounds, but didn't get that close either. But he's possibly going to try a charge this turn, but he didn't advance. Nurglings didn't advance. The Great Demon of Nurgle didn't advance. Demon Prince with Wings didn't advance. And Corvax over here didn't. He's going to try an optimistic charge. You only live once, so let's give it a go. Right, so we're going to move on to turn 1 Psychic and Shooting for Nurgle. Virulent Blessing was cast by the Poxbringer onto the Demon Princess, so increasing his ability to smash things out the sky. We also had Miasma of Pestilence on this squad here, and a Smite was cast down here on here, causing 3 wounds onto the Doom Scythe. So an interesting psychic phase, and getting themselves ready for the big fight. We're going to move into shooting. Right, so a recap of the rest of the shooting. As you can imagine, not much for the Deathguard, a lot advanced. There's not really that much shooting stuff at the moment. So we had the Blight Drone coming down here, killing off 1 of the Immortals there. We used command reroll for the amount of shots, double 1, not good. Over here we had the Land Raider firing its las cannons into the air, missing all over the place. 1 hit but was unable to wound. The Heavy Bolter though, fired down into this squad of immortals, taking out one more immortal. Possibly the immortal that stood back up has now gone back down again. And over on the very far flank here, the combi bolter from the Rhino fired and did nothing. So not that great shooting for the Deathguard, but of course there's a lot of combat units here and a lot of nasty big things. So we're going to try, I believe, a bit of an assault. So let's see how that goes for Deathguard. So the charges here, we had a greater spawn charge in here, took 3 wounds to Overwatch, but he did make a nice successful charge there. Across down here, the Demon Prince also charged in. Doomscythe wasn't able to do anything on Overwatch, and over on this flank here, Corvax is merging in with the Undergrowth here, but he charged in, took a few hits, took 4 hits going in, but was able to pass his save there with Disgusting Resilience as well. So that's all the charges. Let's see what is left after some brutal assaults. Right, so after the assault phase, 1 immortal was killed here. The fight back really didn't do much against this beast. In the centre though, Demon Prince was able to knock the Doomscythe out of the air. I used a reroll as well to try and prevent him from being destroyed, but unfortunately nothing. And over there, Corvax was able to take out 3 of the immortals, but they've locked him in combat, so that's the main thing. Daryl is thinking that he's locked me in combat, but in fact I've locked him in combat. Right, so let's move into turn 2 for the Necrons. Right, turn 2 movement for Necrons. So over here the immortals have fallen out of combat there. The Wraiths are moved up and did an advance. Got 1 inch, terrible. But we've got stratagem to play soon, I'm sure you all know. So he'll be charging into the giant spawn there. These guys will remain stationary. The Annihilation barges, 1 has gone back up to 8 wounds here, but the other 2 moved up, getting close to the Demon Prince there. Across here, this squad's kind of shuffled along very so slightly. And across the field, we can see that the Immortals have fallen back and the Stalkers are just back here, and they're going to be firing into Corvax there. So let's move into turn 2 shooting for Necrons. So yeah, turn 2 shooting for Necrons, and down here the Immortals and 1 of the Annihilation barges fired into the Plague Bearers there, killing off I think about 7 of them in the end. 7, good guess. So 7 have fallen, which has taken them below the -1 to hit, although they still have the miasma of pestilence this turn, which is quite annoying. Down here we had the 2 Annihilation barges as well as this squad here, all fired into the Demon Prince, taking him out of action, so he is now gone. And let's see what else we've been able to do. Right, so over here the 2 Stalkers fired in, 1 had moved, the other one is stationary. Hit into Corvax and have taken him down to 4 wounds. So he's taken a lot of damage. I'm going to try a potential charge of one of these Stalkers to try and get in there and see if we can do some nasty damage in combat with D3 damage each. They could do something to him. But let's move on to Assault. Right, turn 2 charging. So with adaptive subroutines being played, we are able to get into combat here just about. And across the field as well, one of the Stalkers has appeared next to Corvax and hopefully will claw him to death, or with only 4 wounds, he will die. So we'll find out. So let's see what they can do in the assault phase. Alright, so down here the Wraiths were able to do 6 wounds in total onto the spawn. Took him down to 3. On his counter-attack though, he rolled a 6, so gained another wound, and he took out one of the Wraiths there. So, it's a bit stale at the moment. Possibly in the next turn, if the spawn remains in combat, he's dead. He's double dead. Well, we'll see. And let's have a look across the battlefield. Right, so over here, the Stalker was able to get a charge in, as you saw, and he had 4 and did 2 wounds onto Scabby, not Scabby, Corvax. Onto Corvax there. Although Daryl did use a counter-attack stratagem and did nothing onto the Stalker. So, you know, bit sad there for him, but never mind. But 2 wounds were dealt to Corvax. Thanks to Disgusting Resilience, he was able to, of course, prevent any more damage coming in. But that's it for turn 2 for the Necrons. The battlefield is looking very bloody. Bodies everywhere. We've got a bit of morale to do in the centre here because I did lose 7. Right, so thanks to the Great Unclean One standing right next door, it's leadership 10 for these guys. So currently it's a 7 wounds have been dealt out. Let's have a quick little roll for morale. And 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's fine. Okay, that's good. So let's move on to Nurgle, turn 2. Turn 2 movement for Nurgle. And as we see here, Corvax on this flank has moved out. Nurgle forces are needing to put some firepower into these Necrons. Corvax isn't enough. So the Plague Marines down here have disembarked and they are facing off now against this flank of Necrons. Quite a tough flank, but we'll see if they can do anything. Down here, the Plague Bearers have advanced and they are now hiding behind this bunker, although a couple are coming around here. The Warlord himself, the Lord of Contagion, has disembarked with his retinue in front of the gun line, possibly seeing the Warlord of the Necrons there, maybe trying an honourable thing and challenging him. We'll see. These Plague Bearers here are moved up. They haven't charged, haven't advanced, but they're very close now. Same with the Nurglings here. They come through the terrain. Also, the Great Unclean One is stumbling through the jungle there, slightly behind the others, and the Blight Drone here has jumped in behind the Immortals there. So, a lot could happen here. It could go one way or the other. So let's move into turn 2, Psychic and Shooting. Right, so end of turn 2, Psychic and Shooting. We had a stream of corruption going off into the flyer here, causing some mortal wounds. He's down to 8 at the moment. We also had a plasma getting popped in there as well, which caused a bit of damage. Down here in the centre, this squad of Plague Marines fired off into the squad of Mortals, causing a bit more damage there. We also suffered 2 more casualties. Across the battlefield, we had some overcharged plasma guns firing into the Stalker there, doing 2 wounds, and then a bolter doing 1 more wound. There's 1 wound left, just holding in on that flank there. And that is it for Psychic and Shooting. Let's move in now into turn 2, Assault for Nurgle. Right, so turn 2, charge for Nurgle. So the Great Unclean One's charged into the Wraiths. To be fair, I wasn't really expecting that, but there we go. Down here, the Nurglings charged in as well. Took a bit of damage to Overwatch. Another base is dead, and one's down to 2 wounds. So, and then followed up by the Plague Bearers there. Across here, the Lord of Contagion and the Surgeon charged in. Overwatch was pretty ineffective against them, and the Plague Marines have kind of hopped on the end here as well. And finally, over there, the Plague Marines charged into the Stalker. The Stalker did kill 1 on Overwatch there. So, that's a lot of stuff in combat once again for Nurgle. Let's see if they're able to do any damage this time. Right, end of turn 2, Assault for the Deathguard. Well, Deathguard and Nurgle. So, Great Unclean One killed off 1 of the Wraiths. The Spawn wasn't able to do anything, but the surviving Wraiths concentrated their attacks and killed off the giant Spawn there. They haven't consolidated, they've remained completely stationary, so at the moment they are out of combat. Down here, 1 Immortal fell to the Nurgle forces as they charged in and did their attacks. Unfortunately, the Immortals weren't able to do anything back. As we move along the battle line, we've got the Lord of Contagion and the Surgeon there that's hacked through that squad of Immortals, so they are completely gone now. And finally, on the flank over there, the Plague Marines are still in combat, not able to do anything. I used a command point to keep his last wound, and we didn't do anything back there in combat. So, that is it. We're going to move on to turn 3 and see if the Necrons are able to push this tide back, because at the moment, the Death Guard are scoring a few points being over the first line. We've got to push them back, people. We've got to teach Nurgle scum a lesson. Right, so turn 3 movement. On this flank here, the Stalker here has pushed back. So we've got the Immortals and the other one here putting some supporting fire in here. Hopefully this guy's going out, and if we've got any remaining firepower going to the Plague Marines there. Across in the centre here, we have the 3 Annihilation barges. I'll pull back slightly. Remaining in formation, they're going to put some fire down into the centre here, with 1 Overlord there and the Warlord down here. We're going to do some charges in the centre there. Hopefully it's able to do something. Down on this flank here, the Immortals will remain stationary there. They're going to put some fire into the Great Unclean One, which will be assaulted hopefully by those Wraiths there. So the battlefield, the Necrons are still holding the centre. Only just though, they're under a lot of pressure now from the Nurgle forces. Potentially they can get pushed back, but also at the same time they'll be able to push the Nurgle forces back into oblivion. Let's find out in turn 3 shooting. Right, so starting over here on turn 3 shooting, the Immortals as well as the Stalker here fired into Korvax, causing him to explode. He did a bit of damage. He killed off a couple of the Plague Marines over here, and he killed off a Plague Bearer over here, so that's not nice for him. Just out of range of the Immortals though. Down in the centre, the Lord of Contagion and the Surgeon there have taken wounds from the Annihilation Barge, which just unloaded everything. Being the closest target here, they just dealt so much damage out to both of these targets. So the Surgeon's on 1, Lord of Contagion is on 5. Across the field, the only other bit of shooting worth mentioning was a squad of Immortals here. Fired into the Great Unclean One, taking 6 wounds off of him. And that was about it. The Doomscythe at the rear here just came around and just did some damage with the Tesla Destructor there, doing another point of damage on him. So that is it. We're going to move on to Assault, and potentially we should be able to kill some things. Potentially. Right, end of turn 3 Assault for Necrons. So these guys charged in here, doing a little bit more damage, taking him down to 10. But he's still on top bracket at the moment. But these guys are hopefully going to hold him up for a bit and prevent him just coming through and hacking everyone to death. Although one of the Wraiths did die in the fight back there. Over in the centre, 2 Immortals have fallen, although they have removed another base of Nurglings and taken out another Plague Bearer there. In the centre, however, both the Overlord and the Warlord charged in, taking this guy down to 1 wound. The Overlord suffered a bit of damage, but thanks to his Warlord trait and Relic, he's been able to shrug off most of the damage there, and he's still in the fight. And over on the far flank, the Immortals charged in, 1 has fallen and none of the Plague Marines have gone down. So overall, it probably tipped a bit into the Nurgle forces' favour, but only just. So on to turn 3 for Nurgle. So turn 3 movement for Nurgle. Basically just a shuffle up really. Land Raiders kind of pushed up ever so slightly, edging towards. The support units, the support characters here, have also moved up to try and support the guys that are already in combat. The Plague Bearers here still shuffling forwards towards the objectives, crossing the lines. And finally the drone over here has jumped back to try and incinerate a few of the Immortals. So let's move on to Psychic and Shooting for Nurgle. Right, so turn 3 Psychic and Shooting. Not really much to report. Nurgle really pretty much engaged across the line. We had a stream of corruption kind of going into here, causing 3 wounds back on the Great Unclean One, so still holding his own. And the drone back here was able to take out 2 Immortals. But that is it. Nothing else happened. We had some last cannon fire at the Flyer, nothing. Heavy bolter fire at the Annihilation Barge, nothing. Plasmas here and there, nothing happened. So let's move straight into turn 3 Assault. Right, turn 3 Assault is over for Nurgle forces now. Great Unclean One killed another Wraith, I believe, over here. Down here, the fight continues. Another Immortal has fallen. The 1 wound has been dealt out to the Nurglings there, so they just keep coming. It's annoying, to say the least. Over here, Plague Marines and Plague Bearers charged in, but it wasn't enough. And both the Surgeon and the Lord of Contagion have fallen, although both of these guys have taken a fair bit of damage. This one's on 1 wound and the Warlord himself is on 3. And finally over in the corner there, that fight continues. Seems pretty bitter fighting. 1 Immortal has fallen, but Deathguard holds strong. So let's move in to turn 4 for Necrons. Turn 4 movement for Necrons, and back here the Wraiths have fallen out. They're going to take full advantage of their Wraith form special rules, so they're able to charge again in a moment. So they've opened them up now, so the Immortals and the Annihilation Barges here can open up fire and hopefully do significant damage to the Great Unclean One there. Back here, this one has also pivoted around to give them some support if necessary in there. In the centre though, the Overlords are going to get some support from both of the Stalkers here. They're going to come in and see if they can do anything in combat against the Plague Bearers. And finally, the Doomscythe is still going loops around the battlefield and is going in for another strafing run there. So that is it for movement. Let's see if we're able to do anything in shooting. Right, so turn 4 shooting for the Necrons. So over here, these Immortals, as well as 2 of the Annihilation Barges, chucked everything in here, causing 5 wounds on the, well, sorry, taking the Great Unclean One down to 5 wounds. And so leaving it there, we then concentrated fire with the other Annihilation Barge onto this drone here, taking him down to 4. Because we're going to charge these Wraiths in. Potentially it should kill it. We'll find out though. Across the field as well, we had the Stalker here firing across into the Rhino. Didn't do anything there, and once again this fired onto the Land Raider and did nothing there. He's just zooming around, doing like the odd stray shots, see if he can do anything or distract it. Not really working at the moment for that one. So let's move into turn 4 assault for the Necrons. End of turn 4 assault for the Necrons. So over here, the Great Unclean One somehow survived. He's on 4 wounds, and he wasn't able to do anything in the fight back now. He's taken so much damage, he's just kind of just about standing, let alone able to do anything back. Down here, the fight in the middle continues. Another Immortal has fallen, another Plague Bearer has fallen, and another squidge of Nurglings has been wounded. In the centre here, these 2 have taken out the rest of this champion squad, so all 6 have fallen. These 2 just remaining standing there, looking around, getting ready for the next target. Here, the Stalkers both charged in and both did some damage, taking out 3 of the Plague Bearers there. So they're kind of just holding their own there, probably looking at either end, wondering which way to go against these beasts of steel. And finally, over there, 1 Immortal and 1 Deathguard has fallen. So it's really, myself and Darryl just discussing a game of attrition here. He's harder to take down, but my guys get back up. So it's very, very hard going. It's a slog at the moment. So we're going to move into turn 4 for the Deathguard and see if they're able to beat back these mechanical creatures of hell. Right, so turn 4 movement for the Deathguard. If you look at the battlefield here, it's just stagnant in the centre here. Both forces are just pushing as hard as they can, but unable to shift the other. This Rhino's gone flat out. It's already damaged, but he's going to try and beat the Necrons back and get past that defence line. In the centre here, they're making a stand. They are going to be firing everything they have at the Warlord and the other Overlord there to try and get rid of them. And finally, back here, across the battlefield, down by this bunker here, the drone has advanced and he's just hanging back here. He's definitely going to be a target because I can't let him have 2 more points there. Basically, anything past this bastion here will be scoring 2 points for each unit that's past here. Everything sandwiched between the end of the bastion here and the end of that bastion there will be scoring 1 point each unit there. So there's a fair few units that have made it past, so they've still got plenty of scoring units, the Deathguard here, but let's see if the Necrons are able to defeat them. So let's move on to turn 4, psychic and shooting. Right, so over here in turn 4, psychic and shooting, the Great Unclean One got a nice smite off, killing off 2 of the Wraiths. This other Wraith took damage from, actually I don't know why this one took damage. Stream of Corruption, correct, sorry, Stream of Corruption dealt with some wounds to this Wraith here. So he's on 1 wound, they're just holding in. He's not going to be able to kill off this Great Unclean One before he falls, but at least he can try. Over here, Plasma Pistol fired into the Overlord, nothing. Las Cannons fired into the Overlord, nothing. Heavy Bolters fired in and caused another wound on the Overlord there, so he's on 3 at the moment. Living Metal, of course, is going to help him out in a moment, but except for that, he's just hanging in for now. And that is it for psychic and shooting. Oh, sorry, we had a couple of wounds healed as well from this Herald here, or whatever they call them now in 8th edition. But let's call him a Herald for now. And he came in and put him up another wound, so he's on 5. They just won't die, these things. They just won't die. And that's a Necron player saying that. And that is it. We're going to move on to Assault now for turn 4 for Nurgle. Valiantly, apparently. Valiantly, the Plague Bearers hold. Plague Marines hold, sorry. So, in turn 4 Assault, the Great Unclean One here finished off the Wraiths. It was only a matter of time, and now edging towards the Immortals then and pushing himself once again across his line. So just another reminder, between the end of this bastion and this surface, anything between scores 1 point here. So there's a fair few units here, because these guys are still holding in. So there's a few points going on. Here, another Immortal fell in combat. One more one more wound was dealt to the Nurglings, but that was it. Daryl decided not to charge with these guys because he just doesn't want to put more Nurgle gooiness into the blender, which is the two overlords in the center, holding back to back. They're holding the center. Dead Marines surrounding them. And over here, the champion has lost 2 of his number there, but taken out 1 more immortal, so they're slowly going, but will they go in time? Who knows? So that is it for turn 4. We're going into turn 5 for Necrons, see if they can push these Nurgle forces back across the line we can hold. Right, so moving into turn 5 for Necrons. So the Doom Scythe has zoomed across the battlefield. It's got one last job to do here. It's got to try and take out that drone. I don't know if he's able to do it, but he's going to have to give it a shot. So he zoomed across the battlefield from over here. Over here, however, everything is remaining stationary. These Stalkers are going to be putting firepower into this Land Raider here. And down here, the 2 Overlords are now facing off against this entourage that have been facing against them. Down here, 2 Annihilation Barges are squaring up to fire another volley into this thing and hopefully kill it once and for all. Although I've got a feeling I might explode. I might do some nasty stuff to my men down here. But that is it for turn 5 movement. Let's move into turn 5 shooting. Right, so end of turn 5 shooting. Over here, everything fired and finally took out the Great Unclean One, who just fell like a big flobbly lump of lard to the floor. Over here, the Doom Scythe came in with this last strafing run and finally did the job there and destroyed it there. Both the Stalkers fired their shots into the Land Raider and taken it down to 2 wounds, but were unable to destroy it, unfortunately. So I'm going to move into Assault and we'll see what happens. Turn 5 Assault for Necrons. So down here, the Immortals finally killed off the remaining Nurglings there, but still holding strong in that position. Down here, the champion of the Chaos Squad has fallen, although the other Overlord has also fallen. The fight continues in the centre here, so just holding on here. A bit of a fumbles all round, but somehow it continues. Down here, the 2 Stalkers charged in again. 2 more of the Plague Bearers have fallen. No damage was dealt back. So they're still holding and pinning them in this little canyon in here. And over there, the fight still continues. That champion is definitely going to get model of the match at this rate, holding off against those Immortals. So that is it for turn 5 for Necrons. We'll move into turn 5 for Deathguard. Right, turn 5 movement, a very quick one now for the Nurgle forces. The Land Raider is still holding there. The Bell guy, can never remember what his name is, but Bell guy has just fallen out of combat here, so the Land Raider can have a volley of shots in. And finally, the Rhino over there has just pushed itself across the line, so he's now within the scoring zone. So scoring zone is here, and he is holding in there, so he's scoring a point for the Nurgle forces. Let's move into shooting. Turn 5. Right, turn 5 shooting. Nothing happened at all. This Land Raider does not have much luck. It's fired las cannons in there, no hits. Heavy bolter, we've got 2 hits and wounds. We just about passed on our armour saves there. So that is it. We've got no more shooting. We're going to go into Assault and see if the Nurgle are finally able to push the Necron forces off this line. Turn 5 Assault for Nurgle. So back here, the fight still continues, but unfortunately no one is able to finally push through here. Down here as well, the Stalker with 1 wound is gone. A couple of Nurglings died, and very finally over there, the Immortals have killed off the champion. So along the line here, the Necrons are still just holding on. Resources running very low now for the undead. But we are still just about hanging in there. So let's, we're ending the game here. Let's see if the Nurgle forces are able to defeat Necrons. Right, so the end of the game. The final score is 10-4 for the Necron forces here. It's been a very bloody game. It's been interesting to see, actually, the survivability of both armies here. The Deathguard have definitely been the harder force to try and take down, although the Necrons, of course, do have the staying power with the reanimation. But it's been a very, very fun game. My model of the match would definitely be the Doom Scythe. No, it's not. It's actually the Warlord in the centre, because him and his companion, until his companion fell, were able to hold the centre for a long time, taking a lot of attacks, and even towards the end of a Land Raider just shooting at it, he just stood there. Daryl is holding his model of the match. Let's move over to Daryl's hand. Let's not get too adult here. Yes.
It's got to be him.
Gotta be him. Why has it got to be him?
He just refused to die. Okay, slow advance, but just the psychic powers, taking all that firepower for so long. He's the one who kind of held that line together in the end, really. Yeah, definitely. The great unclean one was just slogging up the battlefield, just moving up this flank here. It took a lot of firepower, constantly firepower was pumped into him. But with the aid of the Herald there, they just kept kind of bringing him back more and more, took out a squad of Wraiths pretty much single-handedly, and just kept pushing up further and further, taking a lot of the firepower that could have been used elsewhere, and absorbing it with ease. So as I said at the beginning of the game, because of time restrictions, we didn't do sustained assault, but if we did do sustained assault, I think that battle probably would have gone differently. The Nurgle forces would have just kept coming, although they are slow and ponderous. Could have got that extra few units across, maybe? Who knows? Because there's a bit of a battlefield to trek. At least 2 or 3 more points, so it would have been a smaller margin, maybe, for the Necrons. Or possibly the firepower the Nurgle were able to put across might have changed it. We will never know. But this is Dom from BlackToad Studios. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, give us a like and a subscribe. And I will see you next time. Take care.